This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, Peter. Script for remotely conducted open meetings. Public participation guidelines. Member of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. The town reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use a full name or acts inappropriately. As a preliminary matter, I am Andrew Lowell, Chairman of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Peter Brace.
Aye.
Scott Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. Dave Franzuto.
Aye.
Ginger Andrews.
Here.
Thank you. Do we have any staff on board yet? Any anticipated speakers? Not seeing any. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is being conducted remotely. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, June 22nd, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. This is Ginger.
Second.
Motion's made by Ginger Andrews, seconded by Peter Brace to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Ms. Andrews?
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. Approval of minutes, draft minutes, May 17th, 2022. Do we have any revisions, requests? Not seeing or hearing any. Do we have a motion to approve the May 17th, 2022 minutes?
Motion
So
approved.
moved, Mr. Chairman. Oh, sorry. I'll make that a second then.
All right. Did Mr. Anderson make that motion?
Yes, Mr. Anderson did make the motion.
And Ms. Andrews seconded. All in favor, Peter Brace? Scott Anderson? I need just an aye from you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Ms. Andrews?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Would it be the pleasure of the board to put off election of officers until we have a full quorum?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Marine Department report. Do we have any attendance from Marine Department?
No, Sheila's not here.
Natural Resources?
And Tara couldn't make it.
Okay. Any public comment on Marine Department or Natural Resources? Not seeing or hearing any. We'll move right into old business. We have Emily Molden with us tonight for an endorsement for temporary shellfish and anchoring closure at the new eelgrass restoration site. Floor is yours, Emily.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you this afternoon. So I was here before the board a couple of months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I think, just to provide an update on the proposed additional restoration work that the land council's moving forward with this season, and with a lot of support from the town natural resources department as well. And as you might recall, we've been working on restoring a half-acre eelgrass site off of Second Pier in Monomoy since about 2018, primarily using a method where we're transplanting the whole shoots, which are being harvested from Hussey Shoal and some more healthy, substantial eelgrass meadows nearby. We are receiving a significant grant from the state to expand those efforts to a second half-acre site, which is farther up harbor, and then also to incorporate some new seeding techniques to experiment with and see if they could be useful tools for further eelgrass restoration in the future around Nantucket Harbor. And we're actually actively harvesting eelgrass reproductive shoots right now. They're out, all the seeds are pretty much ripe. So we're doing as much harvesting as possible with interns and volunteers and Natural Resources Department staff and their interns, storing those seeds, most of them at the hatchery during the summer months. And then a little bit later in the season, we'll be experimenting with some different techniques where we'll be planting those. Back in 2018, when we began the restoration project at Monomoy, we worked with the town and with Sheila to get a temporary closure to this half-acre site so that it would have a better opportunity to recover and for the restoration to be successful. And it was closed to anchoring and to shellfishing. And the site has been marked with winter sticks that basically have a little educational sign on them announcing that it's a eelgrass restoration area. And I have to say that with all the monitoring that we've done the last 3.5 years, it's pretty clear that in addition to the success we're seeing with some of the transplanting work that we're doing, that there's a lot of recruitment into the area from surrounding eelgrass. So basically, having that area closed off, we think is really helping new seeds establish themselves without the disturbance for a little while, without any disturbance. So that closure seems to be really helping to restore that half-acre site. So what we're looking to do is I've already spoken with Jeff Carlson at the Natural Resources Department, and they've endorsed our request to close the new proposed second half-acre site farther up harbor to anchoring and shellfishing temporarily while we complete this restoration work. So I'm here to seek endorsement from your board for the same before moving to the select board so that I could look to get permission from the town, but I'd like to do so with endorsement from this board as well, and to answer any questions that you have. I have been in touch with Sheila about the site. She's seen it on a map. We've talked about it. She's approved it and is happy to support closing it again. I think she'll work with Matt Anderson to get some markers out there and in coordination with the Coast Guard as well around the site so that we can let people know where it is, and then do some social media and outreach to let folks know what's going on out there as well. So that's the plan. I'm happy to answer more questions about it. I can show some maps if I can share my screen if you want a refresher of where the site is, but otherwise I really am looking for endorsement for a temporary closure of the second half-acre area.
Board members, questions or comments for Emily? Mr. Franzuto?
Hey, Emily, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you, Dave.
It's good to be seen. Could you throw a map up?
Sure. Let's see. Oh, it looks like I should be
We-
able to share my
We
screen.
call them charts, but you can call them whatever you want, Emily.
Okay. Well, it's more of like an aerial image, I think,
Okay,
more than anything else. Let me just see if I can find, hold on a minute here. No, I think it's. Sorry, trying to get to the right tab. Here we go. Okay. So this little red dot down here, maybe I can actually make this a little bit bigger, is approximately where our first site in Monomoy is. And this is the location of our proposed second site, which is an area that with a lot of input from Tara and Thais. Tara certainly last fall, actually summer and fall, when we were applying for that grant to do this work, she helped us select this site as an area where she had seen eelgrass declining and sort of receding, and wasn't exactly sure why, because it has supported eelgrass for a while. This is kind of a little bit of a map that shows where, according to a 2015 aerial survey, where the existing eelgrass is at the moment, and then our site, which if you go back in aerial images, used to have quite a bit more eelgrass up in there. So Tara was really interested in seeing, and we were interested, while there is still healthy eelgrass adjacent to the area, that again could contribute seeds to help to reestablish the site if we could get some additional growth up in this location as well.
that's great.
This is basically, there's clearly nothing there right now. So that's, but that's the general vicinity and location.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Anybody else? Board members, questions, comments?
I make a motion and we write a letter of support. Who do you want the letter to go to, Emily?
I think the select board would be great, and I can coordinate with whoever's gonna produce the letter, and then send my official request letter to the select board at the same time or along with it, so that they have both, because then I imagine they would put it on the agenda to discuss it and vote.
Okay, Emily, is a letter imperative? Is time of the essence, seeing as we've missed a meeting? Just curious on timing.
I mean, I think, honestly, I don't know if a formal letter is absolutely necessary. Honestly, either an email or a copy of your meeting minutes, even when they're completed, or if a letter is easy. I could also just, in my letter, let them know that I attended this meeting and that the board voted to endorse it. And I'm sure they can check in with you if they need to, if that is comfortable for the board.
Okay, Mr. Braze.
Yeah, Emily, it's over the last year. We had to deal over the last 2 years. We had to deal with revoking, transferring a aquaculture lease, and we had a lot of dealings with the select board. And I got the sense that unless we spoke up, they hardly even knew we existed. So it's better if we write them a letter and say, or it'll carry more weight and help you more if we write a letter and say we support them and this is why. And because when we were speaking to them about that oyster lease, they would refer to us and say, well, Mr. Brace said this, well, Mr. Lowell said that, so that we actually caught their attention. So maybe it's better that it's a standalone, and instead of you just saying, oh, they endorse it, it doesn't have to be a long letter.
Right.
And if you could send me anything relevant, project description, all of that, so I could pull from that, I could do it really quickly.
Definitely. I can send you a few bullet points that you can incorporate.
Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, I totally agree with Peter. It's got to be a standalone letter. They need to hear from us individually as a board. And I think that's what we should do.
I think
Okay.
I think that sounds great. I mean, I think if it's something that can be done in the next couple of weeks, that would be ideal. And then I can get it submitted with our more formal request.
Okay, well, the vote will certainly be on record tonight. And Mr. Brace, I'm sure will fashion the letter as soon as he can. So Mr. Franzuto, you made a motion. Would you please repeat that? If there is no more discussion?
Right.
Okay, Mr. Brace?
So Emily, you want me to send the letter to you to include in your packet? Or do you want me to send it to them or?
How about this, Peter? Why don't we just coordinate when your letter is done and my letter is done? We'll just coordinate. So I'll send my request to the select board and then you can follow up with your letter of endorsement and it'll like to Erica and it'll just go in the same packet, I'm sure.
Okay,
Or if it's easier for you, you can address the letter to the select board and just pass it on to me whenever it's done. That way I can, it doesn't get, lost. I
Okay.
can just include it with mine.
okay.
So that works.
I'd like to make a motion to support Land Council's eelgrass restoration project and send a letter to the Board of Selectmen in support.
And I guess it would
I'll
be
second that.
in support of
Oh.
the temporary closure of the site for anchoring and shellfishing.
Right, support of the closure, okay.
Okay, Mr. Franzuto has made a motion for temporary shellfish and anchoring closure at the new eelgrass restoration site inside of Fifth Wires Point, is it? Or Bass Point, and Ms.
I
Andrews? Ms. Andrews, yes?
Isn't Bass Point isn't near the second Shimo Pier, is it?
No. Kotu, Fifth Bend,
Oh, okay, that's where it is.
yes,
Sorry, I can't see the maps, but
That's
yes,
right.
I would second it. The more eelgrass we can get going, the better.
yes. I think this is imperative and looking forward to some positive results. So we have a motion made by Mr. Franzuto, seconded by Ms. Andrews. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
I,
Mr. Franzuto. Aye,
Mr.
Aye.
Anderson was an aye. I think I was muted.
yep, got you. Ms. Andrews,
Aye.
the chair votes aye as well. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you all very much. And if anyone's interested in getting in the water and helping with some seed harvesting this summer or processing at the Shellfish Hatchery, just be in touch.
Sounds exciting. Great. Next item, letter of support for Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management Grant.
To Kim,
Thanks, Emily.
Mr. Brace, is this something that we need Tara here for?
No, and we've missed it. He's put the grant in already. We just missed being able
Okay.
to do that. So,
Okay,
there'll be plenty of other opportunities for us to give letters of support.
okay. Moving forward, unless there's discussion on that. Not seeing or hearing any liverboard application discussion. I believe Mr. Brace got this out to everybody in an email. It looks to me as though it's has our suggestions included in it. Mr. Bosky's not here. He was really on top of this as a board member. Any discussion? Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, I would like to make sure that Bossy at least has the opportunity to contact Peter or you, Mr. Chairman, and confirm that it's got everything that he wanted, because he did the legwork on this, and I just want to make doggone sure that it's got everything that Dave Bossy wanted.
Okay,
I don't necessarily want to delay anything,
Mm.
but I just want to make sure that he gets a chance to weigh in.
okay, fair enough. Mr. Anderson?
I have a question about the part of having current boat insurance policy. What is the intent of that? Does,
Mr. Franzuto?
Yeah, it's been bannered back and forth for many years. It's primarily to when there's a storm, that the boat is protected, and you'll see some of the other language in there where people have to be on board and the boat has to be able to be moved. This is, predicated on, derelict boats, people not being on island when there's a blow and being able to take care of their boats. So we felt an insurance policy would be, and boat insurance policies are not that expensive. Um, uh, Boat, so there is some protection to the town and also to the surrounding vessels. That's
one of my,
kind of-
I bring it up because one of my concerns was that that insurance policy to be really to recover money on it should have no pollution exclusion in it. That would be my
well, there's so,
big concern about contamination in the harbors.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please, Mr. Franzuto.
there are so many regulations, both local, state, and federal, about pollution that also were born out of liveaboard regulations and problems. So I think it's, the pollution is well taken care of.
Okay.
We, not to digress, but I mean, we've tapped into federal funds to deal with pollution and in the past. So I think that's pretty well set.
That's good. Just wanted to make sure.
All right, Scott, something, there was an incident a couple of years ago where a boat was attempted to be scuttled outside the harbor. I don't know if you can see that, but it
Okay.
ended up being beached on Co-2. And it ends up being the landowner's responsibility. The owner of the boat did end up taking some of it away, but the bulk of it had to be removed by the Conservation Foundation, which was very unfortunate for them. As you know, they survive on donations, and so we took it upon ourselves to address the liveaboard issue, because this particular boat was a liveaboard. And Mr. Bossy especially looked into many other towns' regulations on the matter. And we felt that updating and including some more regulations would be good for the harbor and the island as a whole. So and if there's anything else, if you happen to have some information on insurance that would be helpful, certainly share it with us, and we can always go back to the Marine Department and request some revisions in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Brace.
It's worth, I'm sensing it's worth saying that this form exists. So what's on the form is we're not working through it trying to change it. This is the form that I got from the Marine Department, and this was changed, revised, just so people know that we're not trying to work through changes. We're just reviewing, because Scott, we haven't seen the form until I went and got it. And we were previously given the old form by someone who didn't have the information of where the new form was. And so we got upset about that because we looked at what we thought we were seeing was the new form, and it didn't have anything on it that we had suggested and recommended. And so I got a hold of town administration, and then they got a hold of Sheila Lucy, our harbor master, and she got upset and said that we were complaining and whatever, but we were actually just sort of following up. And then I just figured I'd go down there and get the form anyway. And then now what you see is what is the result of us working with Sheila and giving her our recommendations. And anyway, so
Mr. Franzuto.
Not to belabor this, but did you get the form from the harbor master's office? Did you get the form from administration?
I went down to the harbor master's office. There was someone behind the counter, and they gave it to me.
All right, well, I'm very frustrated about that because I emailed them 3 different occasions and requested the form since our last meeting and have gotten no response. And you know how I feel about that. So.
I know how you feel about it, but just going in there and saying, "Hey, can I have this form?" And they gave it to me. And I know you're off island, Dave, so it's frustrating
Well,
for you.
I've been back for a month or a week, but it's just the lack of response that just is frustrating to me. But anyway,
yeah,
I'm glad we got it. I'm glad our changes are included, and we'll move forward.
Yes, this is simply a clarification. I'm not looking to garner any more revisions at this time. It took us quite a bit of time and energy to get to this point, and it's nice to see. Thank you, Peter, for going and getting this to solidify our clarification. Any more discussion on the liverboard application? Not seeing or hearing any. Excessive sand and scallops dredging plan. Still have not heard or received anything from Mr. Carlson yet. I'm hoping we do at some point. I know it's a lengthy process with the plan. Hopefully it's going to take into consideration the many different possibilities of improvements in the harbor that could happen from some dredging. If there's any questions, comments, discussion, please be heard now. Not seeing or hearing any, we'll move forward to health of the harbors, stormwater runoff and harbor impacts.
Mr. Chairman,
Ginger, please.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
I just wanted to relate something that I observed, I guess it was 2 or maybe 3 weeks ago now. 7:30 on a Sunday morning, I heard sort of a clickety clack in the alley outside my window, and I looked out, and there was a fellow with something that looked like the spreaders they use for fertilizer. And he kind of looked around. He looked at a phytolacca that had volunteered over in one corner of the alley. He stared at it for quite a while, and then he sort of sprinkled it with something, and then he, carried, took his spreader up the alley, and that was 7:30 on a Sunday morning. And the following Monday, we had a very intense thunderstorm. I really don't know what he was putting down, because the phytolacca is now drooping in a sort of semi-prostrate position, and the grass is all dead. However, whatever it was is now, I think, probably in the harbor. So I don't know if it's the backlash from the idea of fertilizer regulations, which have not yet taken effect, or what it is, but this is what I was concerned about, and I don't have a solution to propose, but I just thought I would share that, 1 point observation.
Thank you, Ginger. I think you're probably not alone in witnessing questionable activity like this. Our previous member, Mr. Pronk, noticed activity down at Stop and Shop downtown. We ended up taking some action with a letter, and thankfully Winthrop responded in a positive way. But certainly some heads are going to have to come together. Some minds are going to have to really hash out, as Mr. Brace put it, this is a very difficult thing to regulate and police. And so I think we have a long way to go with fertilizer and stormwater runoff. Has not really been addressed at all. I've noticed over these past couple of heavy rain events we've had, the Island Coffee down on Lower Broad Street at Steamboat Wharf, they took 6 to 8 inches of water in. It was not a high tide event. It was simply a heavy rain event. So they did not sandbag their threshold at the doorway, and took this water into their shop. And I had asked a gentleman the next day, how he felt that it happened, and he didn't have to guess or project. He said the storm drains were clogged with mulch. And the mulch, of course, is floating out of surrounding neighboring properties and parks. And no sooner does this mulch wash out and the storm ends, and the landscapers are back replenishing that mulch. And there's a lot to this, and a lot of it seems like it could be a simple fix, but I guess when people want mulch, they get their mulch, and for it to have caused an inconvenience at the coffee shop, it's causes a huge inconvenience to the DPW. They're out there shoveling this up. A gentleman sent me a picture of all the mulch washed onto Easy Street. Kind of made a joke out of it. Free mulch available, get it while you can. And but our tax dollars are paying for this mulch to be cleaned up, and to me it seems like this mulch needs to be contained somehow. There needs to be a border that holds it in wherever it's being applied. I've mentioned this before, speaking with one of our scalloping divers, Tim Mooney. He said as he wades out to his boat in the Easy Street Basin, once he gets about waist deep into the water in the Easy Street Basin, he cannot see from his knees down. His legs disappear into the fine silt that has settled into the Easy Street Basin. He says it's a very dark silt, very similar to the mulch that we see in the surrounding areas. So, not only do we have a problem with all of the ingredients in this stormwater runoff, anything from cigarette butts to bubble gum to fertilizers and anything else that is washing off in these major storm events. There's a lot to cover here, and I truly believe starting with a map and publicizing this map showing how far back the runoff comes from and ending up in the harbor should be an eye-opener to a lot of people, and also just some simple educational statements on where it's coming from and what is ending up in the harbor during these storm events. So about 2 or 3 weeks ago, in the town manager's report, there was a request to schedule public hearing for surface water and groundwater protection regulations. I don't believe, I'm not sure, has Mr. Brace, has anybody reached out in regards to this request to you or any other board member. I'm not sure if this was covered at a select board meeting since our last meeting, or if this is coming up in scheduling. Mr. Brace, could I request of you to look into this a little further?
Sure.
And notify us of when this public hearing will be. Hopefully it hasn't happened yet. I believe at least one member of this board should be involved in these discussions. And any other board member, of course, wanting to participate should participate as well.
So, Mr. Chairman, do we know for sure that a public hearing has been requested?
Yes.
And can you just say what it is? So
Yeah,
I say it correctly.
Yes, this is how it was screenshotted and sent to me simply by a member of the public under town manager report. Quote, request to schedule public hearing for surface water and groundwater protection regulations.
Okay. Do you know who made the request?
It was under town manager report. I imagined it came
Okay.
from Libby.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
And this, of course, is, something we've been hoping to hear for quite some time. So for me, this is very exciting. And I hope it hits the ground running.
Okay.
Board members, any more discussion on stormwater runoff and harbor impacts? Excessive lawn.
Mr. Chairman.
Ginger, please.
Oh, I was just going to agree that I think a public hearing would be a good thing, and it would be good to have the maps if what's available. I know the DPW did quite a lot of work on this at one point. It would be good to have the maps available at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I believe the sewer department, along with the health department years ago, they were using some type of a fogging dye in the sewer system to see where it was coming out. It was coming out of people's downspouts that were hooked up to town sewer, and they found a lot of connections that didn't belong. Mr. Brace.
What that was called inflow and infiltration. So, it was inflow was, they used smoke, and they used to find where people were illegally tying into the sewer system and water was flowing in, whatever type of water it was. And then infiltration was, broken pipes in the ground, illegal connections and stuff below ground. They use smoke to do that.
Mm-hmm. And basically the reason I brought that up was there should be some information within that old work, so to speak, that could be helpful in today's progress with this, along with other things that hopefully they're well aware of there. But our involvement, I believe, is imperative with this, and hopefully we're included in the discussion. So, Peter, your research into finding out when this public hearing may be will be much appreciative. Thank you.
Yep.
Excessive lawn fertilizer use. We've heard a bit on this already, whether it was fertilizer or an herbicide from Ms. Andrews. Any other discussion or anything more you'd like to add, Ms. Andrews, or any other board members? Any new information or just anything you'd like to speak about? Now's the time. Not seeing or hearing any. FDA shellfish taking prohibition in mooring fields. Kind of a topic for Tara. Mr. Franzuto. Mute.
Sorry. Do we
Yeah.
know if the super stealth FDA showed up, or do we know that they came, or they haven't come yet?
No.
We don't know.
No.
Oh, while I'm on that, we had discussed at our previous meeting about requesting Carlson to come at least once a quarter. How does the board want to do that? Do we want to do it formally? Do we want to do it informally? I think it would be very beneficial because, you know, the storm drains and the fertilizer, just the last two topics. You know, Carlson could
Actually,
update us.
Mr. Franzuto, the last meeting that we were unable to conduct, both Tara and Jeff were prepared to join the meeting. I think Jeff knows we want him here. Of course, we're off schedule tonight, being a Wednesday night. He may have some involvement with tonight's select board meeting, which started at 5:30. So we're a bit off schedule here. I'm willing to give the grace necessary, seeing as we are off schedule and we're unable to conduct that our previous meeting.
I'm not faulting him for not
No.
being here. I just want to make sure that at least once a quarter, we get him face to face.
Okay. And I agree. So I'll be glad to reach out to Jeff the next before our next meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Make note of that. Any other discussion? Health of the harbors, FDA shellfish taking, prohibition in the mooring fields. Moving forward to new business, return to in-person meetings. Mr. Brace, would you please review what was announced to you about the meeting space available?
Yeah, and just got an email from Erica saying that if we want to, we can meet in person, and the venue would be the ugly trailer sitting there next to the new offices of the Natural Resources Department. And the benefit of that, as opposed to going back to the select board's chamber, is that space is set up for hybrid meetings. So if Dave goes down to his place, or whoever goes away, they can still attend meetings because it'll be, I guess somehow we'll be trained on how to run a meeting live that is also on Zoom. So I believe that's available to us. That's what Erica was telling us, and I told her we needed to discuss it in the board before we decided what to do. So I think we just need to vote. Do we want to do that, or do we want to stay the way it is? I think that at some point in July, I guess it all ends, but then that depends on what happens with COVID. So I guess if the board says so, then I'll get a hold of Erica and say, yes, we're interested. We'd like to do that. And yes, we want to be trained on how to make it a hybrid meeting.
Board members? individually like to poll you on how you feel about returning to in-person meeting, Mr. Anderson?
Sorry, I'd like to do an in-person meeting. I think it would be beneficial to me to, again, develop a more working relationship with everybody on the board. So to me,
Yeah.
that's what face-to-face will do.
Yes, Mr. Franzuto?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going back in person. It would be great if I could participate remotely from, and I know Bossy goes away and I'm sure other people do too, but I would still like to stay engaged and this has been, for that purpose, this has been fine. So if we can do that, that would be great.
Ginger, please. Sorry, Peter. Next.
Well,
But
sorry. Is it my turn?
Yes, please, Ginger.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we should. Well, personally, I like the even though I can't see the screen and see all of you, I recognize Mr. Anderson's absolutely correct. Particularly as a new member, it would be nice if we could sit down together. I think a hybrid model is something we should stick to, and I have some concerns based on some of the COVID cases that have been happening to people I know and places that I've been through or worked in, and people I've worked with at some of my various jobs. I think that COVID is really not over. It doesn't seem to be, it's hard to tell from news reports. It doesn't seem to be as virulent in many ways, but it's certainly still serious for quite a number of people. And I may be unwilling to come to an in-person meeting right away. Although I'm not by any means knocking its value. I'm just feeling, that it's maybe not quite prudent yet.
Thank you, Ginger. I totally agree with you there. I actually caught it about 3.5 weeks ago, Memorial Day weekend. I tested positive. It was not a pleasant event at all. Loss of appetite, very weak, fatigued, brain fog. And from what it sounds like to me, from between annual town meeting and Memorial Day, there was quite a spike, and a lot of people caught it, and 80 people were out of the school system, students and staff included, and it was just word on the street that a lot of people were catching it, and I don't think there was nearly as much notice about it in the media. So I believe, as you've said, Ginger, I agree, it's out there, and we still need to be cautious. I believe I'm in favor of going back to in-person meetings, but I also love this option of hybrid so that our participation can be the greatest as possible. I'm not sure what the meeting space looks like. Maybe we all ought to try to peek our heads in there and see what it looks like, how much distance we can keep from one another in the meeting room, and see how our personal comfort level fits with this meeting space. As most of you know, we used to meet where the select board meets, which is a very large room. But this space is obviously going to be smaller. It would be interesting to know if there are choices for other spaces. Is there another board or commission that has taken our time slot at the select board meeting room at the public safety facility? Just a simple question I'd love to have answered, but anyhow, Mr. Brace, you had your hand up as well.
Well, I just want to say it's, you know, if we do go back to meeting in person, it'll be beneficial to Mr. Payer because I'm understanding that he is much, much more than a Luddite, and he gets his information, I think, through his daughter in terms of the emails. I know that he is the father-in-law of Marty McGowan, so there's an island connection there. And I don't know, I know he lives in Landmark House, and I don't know, I know he doesn't have a computer, and he does have a cell phone, but it's, you know, other than the Juneteenth holiday, which screwed Andy and I up, I think that, you know, the technology hurdle is why he isn't here. And this was I'm getting from him that this was a very big deal that he got elected. And he's 87 years old. He was a Navy pilot. He worked for Electric Boat in New London, in Groton, Connecticut. He just went on for 15 minutes telling me all the things that he's done in his life. And now he sounds like he's, you know, definitely in the winter of his life. And doing this seemed like a big deal for him. So I want to make sure that he gets his chance to help out, you know. So
That's great, Peter. I'm glad you have reached out to him and gotten this information. It sounds like where the meeting room is next to the old fire department is a convenient location to the Landmark House. I'm looking forward to Mr. Payer's participation with us as well. If there's any more discussion on this, I certainly welcome it. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion about returning to in-person meetings, including the hybrid formula.
I would make that motion, and I would maybe modify it and say that we should, that's what we want to do, but we want to investigate as we go along. In other words, ask Erica, what are the other spaces that are available? Do those have hybrid capabilities? If we could go back to the select board meeting room, would that have hybrid, or is this, or is the trailer the only hybrid? And then I would think that at the next meeting, which is July 7th, is that right? Whenever it is,
July
July 7th,
5th.
5th. So at the July 5th meeting, we would then, you know, say, okay, these are the rooms available. Let's pick one and do it. So at this meeting, we would say, okay, we want to do it. We're working toward, we all agree that, you know, most of us agree that we want to do this with respect for the chance for it to be hybrid, so that those of us who don't feel comfortable can still meet. That's
Okay.
a long modification,
Yeah.
but.
Well, Mr. Brace, would you, are you willing to reach out to Erica about this?
Yeah, I'll do that in the same email when I ask her about the surface water public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Brace. So the
Mr.
motion-
Chairman?
Yes, Ginger, please.
I would just, I was listening to another town board meeting, and it had been moved for some reason from its usual space to some other space. I don't know where they were, but they had to cancel because it was really, the technology was really not up to snuff. I mean, people couldn't be heard, or some people couldn't hear, some people couldn't see. Whatever the issues were, I would just, before we move on to it, I just want to be sure that it's really a functional room. So that's my only reservation.
Thank you for sharing that. Another meeting space we used was at 2 Fairgrounds Road, kind of a small room. And once or twice we met at the Wannacomet Water Company. They have a nice meeting room, but also kind of a small room. But normally our participation is, you know, our board members and a couple of staff and maybe one or two from the public. But that can't always be anticipated. So, Peter, I guess, keep Ginger's comment in mind when you're talking to Erica. Hopefully, Erica would come right out and reveal to you that there are some quirks or bugs to work out at whatever meeting space that may be. And I agree with you 100%. There's more to this than just taking a vote and saying we'll see you in person in 2 weeks. But I look forward to hearing what you find out.
Okay.
I think, unless you want to repeat the motion, I think you have it down pretty well. That will be, the motion has been made by Mr. Brace to return to in-person meetings along with the hybrid model and along with some investigation of where other locations may be available. And of course, at whatever location it may be, needs to have the hybrid option. Basically, that's the motion. Mr. Brace, do we have a second?
Second.
The motion's been made by Mr. Brace, seconded by Mr. Franzuto. All in favor, Peter Brace,
Aye.
Scott Anderson,
Aye.
Dave Franzuto,
Aye.
Ginger Andrews,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye as well. Thank you for that. Coastal Resilience Advisory Board update.
I don't have an update since we haven't met since May 14th. So,
All right, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Brace. The Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board summer meeting schedule, which would basically be eliminating 2 meetings. Our next meeting will be July 5th. And then the meeting after that would be August 2nd. And this has been a practice for longer than I've been on board, being in my 8th year here. Mr. Brace into his 11th year, possibly. So, yes. And so this has been a practice. People are busy in the summertime or enjoy their time off, and staff is usually less available at this time, especially Marine Department, it being their busy season. It hasn't seemed to hinder any of our progress or results. So this is something I'm in favor of. I'd simply like to poll the board, see how they feel, and we can take a vote. Or if somebody would simply like to make a motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. This is Ginger.
Okay, and Ginger, are you motioning that we go to a summer schedule of 1 meeting in July, 1 meeting in August?
That's correct.
Second.
Okay, the motion's made by Ginger Andrews, seconded by Dave Franzuto. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Anderson, did you have something to add?
No, I was going to second.
Okay, well, thank you. All in favor, Peter Brace,
aye.
Scott Anderson,
Aye.
Dave Franzuto,
Aye.
Ginger Andrews.
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. Thank you. We added goals and objectives, having 2 new board members. And this is something that we covered. It's probably been several years since we've worked on goals and objectives, and having 2 new members with some new ideas. I just want to give the opportunity for anything that you feel we should be discussing, any topics that could be important to what our mission is. I wholeheartedly invite our new members to bring forth anything that they feel we should have on our agenda. So I'll single you out, Scott, and and this opportunity is an open opportunity. It doesn't have to be right now. Whenever you feel there's something you feel should be on the agenda, you're more than welcome to ask. Every meeting we have a recap and items for next meeting. Goals and objectives, kind of something we dig in deep with, and try to get all the information we can, and we keep it on our agenda until we've come up with some resolve or solution. So
Again, appreciate the opportunity, and I'm learning as I come along to make sure that I'm going to do something that seems to be useful.
Okay.
Couple things that something I was observing, because I live in Mattakit, the new project that's going on by the land bank to put 140-foot
Oops, you've
I'll say pier out into Long Pond, appear to be going at it the right way, but against things like that that algae bloom, agitate it and other things. So that's something I'm looking at.
okay. And how is that project progressing? Is it in the permitting stages yet? Or simply discussion?
Oh no, I can look out my dining room window and see a tower crane out there.
Oh, they're in the process of constructing this pier.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, they have two large cranes there that they're pounding pilings into Long Pond, and they're due to be done by August.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Well, at this point, I would say if you're noticing any issues of any sort, you go directly to Jeff Carlson.
Okay. No, I think
You're coming in and out there, Scott.
I see this going on. It has a lot of equipment. Sorry. It just has a lot of equipment out there that could cause issues. So they look like a professional group, but I walk by there every day.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Ginger?
yeah, I've been observing it too. I didn't get involved in the design or when it was initially brought up. The birders were a little concerned that the pier might be going to be built on top of the spot that the shorebirds actually use, but this, by the location of the pilings, this doesn't really seem to be the case. So I can't speak to the algae issues, but yeah, they're constructing it, and it's not on top of where the birds need to be. It does have a DEP file number, so it's been passed by the Conservation Commission. So that's the land bank has put a lot of effort into making handicapped accessible places to observe some of the beautiful scenes that those of us who are still walking around can easily get to. So I support that goal. I think that it doesn't hurt when projects are proposed to reach out to the land bank and ask questions and take a look at things. And if you have things to add, to let the land bank know before while they're still in the design phase. So I've found them, very willing to show and to listen. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Ginger. I'm just going to ask quickly of Mr. Anderson, if you're familiar with a previous board member. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name here. Joe LaPuma served with us for one term. He's a neighbor of yours out there. Have you ever met him?
I don't believe I have.
All right. He unfortunately could not run for a second term. he had some health issues really hindered him, but he's on the mend, and he was a wonderful participant on the board. I can't speak highly enough of Joe and how well he participated on the board and did research, and if you get a chance to meet him out there, I think you might find him to be a wealth of information that I was hoping we'd, as he improves with his health, that he'd participate in some way, shape, or form. So let me just ask you if you'd find out where Joe is in your neighborhood, Joe LaPuma, Lipuma, and he's not too far away, and I'm sure you guys could strike up a great conversation together that could actually form into something something substantial.
But
I
no,
think he's on, Starbuck.
Uh-huh. Okay.
try to find him. Okay.
Public questions or comment? We have no public with us tonight. Recap or items for next meeting, anything anybody wants to add, now would be the time, or get in touch with Peter and I before our next meeting. If our next meeting, I'm just going by what you have printed here, Mr. Brace, future meetings, July 5th. July 4th being the day before that, Peter will be sure to get our agenda done, our 2 business days beforehand. And if there's nothing else to discuss, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Scott Anderson.
Second,
Motion's been made by Scott Anderson to adjourn tonight's meeting, seconded by Peter Brace. All in favor, Peter Brace,
aye.
Scott Anderson,
Aye.
Dave Franzuto,
Aye.
Ginger Andrews.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much, board members, tonight. It's good to see you all. Enjoy